Good afternoon. Welcome at the webinar series Promising Cities for International Business. Every month, World Trade Center will introduce another city in the world to stimulate international trade. My name is Evert-Jan Schoustra. I'm director of the World Trade Center Leeuwarden, located in the north of the Netherlands. World Trade Center is an organization supporting and assisting companies with international ambition and help them to professionalize their export and import by providing knowledge, leads, and business contacts. We help you to find the right business partner by using our international network of over 325 offices in 90 countries or our huge database with over 150 million contacts. Through our network of over 20 World Trade Center coaches and consultants, we help you with your international strategy. We are your partner when you start with exporting or when you would like to extend your network in the world. We grow business. This webinar program is offered by World Trade Center Netherlands Alliance, consisting of 10 offices in the Netherlands, Horizon Flevoland, and our local export clubs, Export Club Noord and the Friese Export, and our partner for today's event, City and Curaçao House in The Hague. Normally, we work closely together with a local World Trade Center. For many years, World Trade Center was represented in Curaçao. The sign is still there, but the activities have stopped. Hopefully in the near future, the World Trade Center Curaçao will be in operation again. So before we go to Curaçao, some logistics for today. The webinar is in English, and at the end of the presentation, there is enough time for Q&A. You can put your questions up or you can ask your question by using the chat function on your right. If your question is not raised, then we get back to you with an answer after this webinar. Yes, we will record this webinar. So, today we present you the island of Curaçao with its capital city, Willemstad. The island is 444 square kilometers big and has almost 160,000 inhabitants. Curaçao is located in the Caribbean and is part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Among other opportunities are there in tourism, renewable energy, IT, cybersecurity, and e-commerce. But also very interesting is the use of Curaçao as a hub to North and Latin America. A few months ago, we participated in a Curaçao export event organized by Sam Kruiner and his team of the Curaçao Investment and Export Promotion Agency called AMS-IX. He will be there later on. This was a nice way to start cooperating and to learn how we can support each other. At this event, we're able to show the opportunities in the north of the Netherlands. Now it's time to present Curaçao. By the way, last Tuesday, Curaçao had great exposure because the soccer team of Ajax was showing the name of Curaçao on their football shirt, and they did a hell of a game. They had a very good game. So the opportunities are there with Curaçao. However, to invest or to export to Curaçao need good preparations and good context. We have a great program for today. We will start with a presentation by Mrs. Monique Raphael Boesen, Director of Curaçao Innovation and Technology Institute, the city, followed by Sim Kruiner, Export Development Consultant of AMS-IX. Ms. Sasha Mercer, Consultant Senior Policy Advisor, Economic Development, will introduce the cabinet van de gevolmagde minister van Curaçao, and we will finish with Mr. Chris Boustra, Chief Commercial Officer of the DINAF Group. He will tell us why his company chose for Curaçao. So our first speaker is Ms. Monique Raphael Boesen. She's Director at Curaçao Innovation and Technology Institute, and she will introduce City. City is the place where innovative ideas are transformed into sustainable solutions, a perfect link to the sustainable opportunities on the island. Before I give the floor to Monique, we will first start with a nice video introducing Curaçao. Enjoy.
Willemstad, a UNESCO World Heritage Site recognized for its unique architecture and harbor, has transformed into the Caribbean's hotspot. With trend-setting boutique hotels, restaurants, and night spots for every taste and budget, all within walking distance of the cruise mega piers. Or visitors can take a tuk-tuk or trolley train tour. Willemstad is divided by Santa Ana Bay, alive with a parade of ships and tugs passing under the Queen Juliana Bridge and through the Queen Emma Floating Bridge. 3 forts watch over the city. Fort Amsterdam, the seat of government. Fort Nassau, with its restaurants overlooking Willemstad. And the Riff Fort, with even more dining options. From there, visitors cross the swinging bridge or ride a free ferry to Punda. A fun mix of cafes, local stores, and swank specialty shops. Also, there's the Mikveh Israel Emmanuel Synagogue, the oldest still in continuous use in the Western Hemisphere with its original sand floor. A pedestrian bridge links to Scarlo, home of the Maritime Museum. Life-size murals by local artists and grand Baroque mansions. Next stop, Peter Mai, the new place to be. Streets are lined with restaurants, bars, and many of Curaçao's new boutique hotels. It's a magnet for music and entertainment at night. Back in Outra Banda, the Cura Ulanda Museum showcases African Caribbean history. Bayfront bistros are the ideal place to hang out and be mesmerized by this bustling seaport town. For amazing choices on food, entertainment, and nightlife, watch our video on food and fun.
Good morning, and thank you so much. Good afternoon, I should say. It's morning here in Curaçao. Thank you so much for that introduction. I hope we will live up to the expectation today. So I would like to start with a little brief wake-up call. Why Curaçao? Why would Curaçao be interesting for business purposes? Most people are attracted by the fact that it's a bridge to the region. Latin America has 660 million people, more than that actually. We have knowledge about that region. We have people that speak the language, literally as well as culturally. But other reasons are you can be a pioneer here. You can try out new things. Like yesterday, we opened one of the first smart bus stops in Curaçao, which will also attract, all kinds of interesting innovators and researchers from around the world. You can expand your horizon here, live a little more, have some other cultures influence you, have a great quality of life. So these are some of the main reasons why Curaçao could be attractive for you. And I will be talking about a little bit about all of those later in the presentation. And then, of course, there's also why would we want you to come to Curaçao? What's in it for us? Because, we're talking about win-win here. Well, we, like so many islands, countries, cities, we realize that we need to increase our economic and social resilience. The last couple of years made that very clear. So we need more innovators, more entrepreneurs, more tech-savvy people, and more international business partners to grow our country, to grow our economy, and become more resilient. So we hope after today that you will have our vibrant community of innovators. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who I am, who my organization is, and then we will focusing on some samples of innovation in Curaçao, because I'm assuming most people know Curaçao from sun, sea, sand, and all that fun stuff. But there's really a very vibrant community of innovators and entrepreneurs, and I want to give some examples of those. So that's basically the biggest part of the presentation. So let me start by introducing myself. As you heard, my name is Monique. I was born and raised in the Netherlands. I've been in Curaçao for almost set out to be here for 3 months, but I fell in love with the island. So yeah, I stayed. And I'm part of an organization that is a non-profit organization. We're a public organization. Most of our work we do for the Ministry of Economic Development here in Curaçao. And we strive to make Curaçao a better place through innovation and technology. We've been doing this for a long time. Some of our innovative programs that we came with was a one laptop per child project back in 2008. We were the first in the Caribbean to introduce a 3D printing mini fab lab. We had the Apps for Curaçao program. We had all kinds of other interesting, innovative programs. And this already demonstrates you a little bit how you can be a real pioneer and a regional leader here in the Caribbean, and sometimes even for the whole of Latin America, especially coming from a country like the Netherlands, which is already very innovative. So some of our current programs is mostly focused on helping startups and innovative entrepreneurs, or entrepreneurs that contribute to Curaçao becoming a smart nation. We also focus on the bridging the gap of the digital divide, basically. So we have some programs for those as well. So if you're interested in any of these programs, or you think, hey, I might want to know more about this, I want to support these programs, please do not hesitate to contact CT about this, because we need knowledge, experience. We hate reinventing the wheel. So let us know if you feel like doing some social entrepreneurship and help the community here in Curaçao. We have a history, CT has a history of working with some Dutch organizations. Some, like Sindens, I don't think exists anymore. Their role is now taken over by the Chamber of Commerce. Waag Society is a very innovative organization in Amsterdam. TNO, I think, is familiar for most people. So that was our organization in a nutshell. So let's now take a bigger focus and let's look at Curaçao. Curaçao already was introduced at the beginning of this event, so I will not go into too much detail, but I think some interesting. The picture I chose here already shows a lot of languages. And most people, in addition to Papiamento and Dutch and English being official languages, most people also speak Spanish. And some people speak Portuguese, some people speak German, but Papiamento, Dutch, English, and Spanish is like 90% of people master those languages. So that is, of course, because we are a melting pot of cultural and business influences. And I want to stress this again, because if you want to use Curaçao as a hub to other places, to South America, Latin America, Caribbean, or even sometimes the United States, it's more than just having the physical location, which of course we are located. The physical location of Curaçao is very perfect, basically, to do business with South America and the region. But it's more than just the physical location. It's also the cultural understanding and the language. Because having been here in Curaçao for almost 30 years and having seen all these communities and all these people with different backgrounds, there is a kind of a cultural gap between people from South America and people from Europe. That's a different way of talking, of speaking, of being, of doing business. And Curaçao and the people in Curaçao are the perfect people to bridge that. And of course, we have this very long history of being, I'm sorry, I clicked twice. We have this very long history of financial offshore administration. At some point, in Curaçao, 60% of all offshore funds were administered in Curaçao. So even though that's not the case today, it does mean that we have a very solid base of expertise in finance, in accounting, notaries, legal. So there is a very big base of knowledge there. And of course, they kept developing into all kinds of digital e-commerce solution that you might want to deploy. So there's a very broad base of expertise here if you want to expand your business through Curaçao into Latin America. Then we have also the knowledge to do that. And of course, we are part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, which means that that is the basis of our legal system. So there's a lot of similarity there. And we want innovators to come to Curaçao. We want companies in Curaçao to innovate. So there's a lot of incentives for innovation and for investment. So we really are trying to make these conditions as favorable as possible for you to come to Curaçao or do business through Curaçao. And of course, if you want to move yourself, your family, or your employees here, then we also have a very high standard of living. And also important, if you have kids, our education system is almost the same as a Dutch education system. And the kids can seamlessly, go back into the Dutch system when you want to move back to the Netherlands. So that's also an important factor for some people when they consider moving part of their business to Curaçao. Being part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands also means that there's access to EU funding, because this is not known by a lot of people, but most of the, there's right now, Horizon Europe is the current program that the European Union is using. And most of those programs, if a company in the Netherlands can benefit from them, then a company in Curaçao can also benefit from them. And then, of course, there's a lot of incentives by the RVO that are also very attractive. There are certain incentives specifically for the islands, but it's also interesting because there are certain incentives that companies in Curaçao cannot access, which might be a nice basis for a partnership. Let me see. So now I'm getting to my favorite part of the presentation. Of course, when you work for the Curaçao Innovation and Technology Institute, innovation is something that you really like. And on this slide, you see something that also combines my other interest, which is scuba diving. We'll get to that later. Curaçao is a very strong, innovative ecosystem. It's in recent years, it's been getting more attention. I feel more innovators have become attracted by Curaçao. It's more of an innovation vibe, you can say. And people also realize that if you want to stay ahead of the competition, you need to innovate. And as a country, if we want to grow our economy, we need to innovate. So there's a very active innovation economy. Some examples are there's an initiative for the donut economy. So that's a circular economy program that Curaçao is working on together with, and the support with Amsterdam. We have a Smart Nation Master Plan. And as mentioned already, we have tax incentives for innovators, which are much like the Dutch, I think it was called Innovatiebox. It's kind of similar to that. I think the Netherlands recently changed their tax or are going to change their tax incentives for innovators, but it's similar to the Innovatiebox. And then we have the Curaçao Growth Fund, which is one of the organizations that can fund serious innovators. And then, of course, we have our organization, Curaçao Innovation Technology Institute for support. We focus mostly on small businesses and startups. I want to give another example, because you might think, okay, this is very nice that Curaçao wants to do all of this. But if you are just a beach community, how do you do this and where do you start? Well, we've already started. Curaçao has been an innovator in the region pretty much at least since the refinery came here over 100 years ago. And this is also the image we have in the region. So for an example, for my own organization, in 2012, we were the first to have a 3D print lab in the Caribbean. And now this year, Beton Industrie Briefgat is the first in the region to have a 3D concrete printer. So those are just two examples. This might be technology that in Europe, and specifically in an innovative country like the Netherlands, have been used already. But here on this side of the world, and specifically in the Caribbean and in South America, this is new, and you can really be an innovation leader. So this is just to demonstrate that we are innovating. And then, of course, we have Dynef, which is also an innovator in the island. And yeah, you will hear from Chris later on. And we have Acollector, our local utility company that introduced electric cars. We are also regional leaders with regard to wind and solar energy. So I think approximately 30% of our energy is green energy. So these are also very interesting figures, which make us regional leaders. And then we get to the part where we really want to stimulate innovation, and we want to become a place where people can come and innovate and test. And an example of that is something that's called Living Lab, which is a partnership between the University of Curaçao, TNO in the Netherlands, and other organizations. And there's a physical part of the refinery that's not being used for refining purposes, which in a plan that's called Horizonte Noble will be assigned to alternative energy. And there's more people and more organizations in the private sector from both Curaçao and the Netherlands that have joined this initiative, where you can really test out new renewable energy solutions. So it's basically a testing ground, you can say. We have Innovation C. This is also one of my favorite examples, which is a community of innovators. And they came up with something that's called Collectivo, and they developed a cryptocurrency, so a unique to Curaçao cryptocurrency that can be used to finance and fund innovative projects. For example, they have recently funded a food forest here in Curaçao. So this is also very, it's on the one hand, it is a nice community of innovative people that you can spar with. And on the other hand, they actually fund innovative programs. And then we have Innovation Village, which is a program that City is hoping to realize starting next year. This is a physical place where innovators, researchers, entrepreneurs can get together and innovate, start businesses, grow their businesses, and it will have a center for entrepreneurship, a learning lab, an innovation lab. So we are also looking very much forward to realizing that, to have a physical place. This is also a place where the community, like schools and families, can come and visit and get to know new technologies and experience them. And then something which is also a customer of us, they participated in an ideation hackathon and got together for that event. And after that, they created the Smart Mobility Foundation. And this foundation created as you can see in the slide, the app for the local public transport bus company. Because before that time, there was no way to know when the bus would get anywhere, and this app will show them. And then yesterday, as I mentioned briefly in the introduction, one of the initiators of this added a smart bus stop to this endeavor. And the smart bus stop is a little bit more than a bus stop that just tells you when the bus will get there. It is equipped with all kinds of cameras and sensors. It has a safety button, so it will also give you information about the environment. It can even measure air pollution, how much traffic there is. So it's really a smart bus stop. And this smart bus stop was officially launched yesterday. So that's why I do not have a picture in the presentation yet. But it's already attracting innovators and researchers from the region to see how this will work and if we can implement this in other places. Other research activities, this was my beginning slide. The picture above is something that's called Proteus. And Proteus is described by the people who want to do it as an underwater space station. So this is a research facility where people will actually live underwater, under the sea. This is projected to be realized in 2024 off the coast in Curaçao. And if you are a scuba diver, then you've heard of Jacques Cousteau. Well, this is his grandson that is doing this. But that is the future. Right now, already we have Substation Curaçao in the picture below. That is an underwater research vessel. Well, tourists can also take trips in it, but it's also used for some serious research. Together with the research ship. And again, if you think, yeah, what, Curaçao and scientific research, how is this a match? Well, little known fact is that already 250 scientists every year come to Curaçao, to Carmabi, which is the organization that manages all our nature parks, both above and below water. So 250 scientists every year already come to Curaçao to research the reef. So it's a strength that we are building on. It's not something we are thinking of and launching from scratch. So we have a vibrant entrepreneurship community. It's not just innovators, but it's also creative people. We have all kinds of support organizations, of which City is one, some who will be talking later from CNEX. CNEX is one. We have Corinde, which is for the industry development areas. We have other support organizations. We have incentives. We also have, probably also a little known fact, a Dutch Caribbean securities exchange. We have Development Bank and Credits, which is a Dutch micro-lending organization that a couple of years ago expanded their business to the Dutch Caribbean, including Curaçao. And because our proximity and because of the mentality that is on the island, pretty much of work hard, play hard, there's also, it's easy to network. Lines are short, especially if you come here from the Netherlands and you want to set your company here, it's easy to get access to like ministers and ministries to have appointments and present your plans. There's a national export strategy which has identified certain growth industries: tourism, creative industry, financial services, port and maritime, IT services, education services. An example of green and creative is another customers of ours, Limpy. They use recycled plastic to make all kinds of products. We also have a film industry and a very vibrant festival industry. I'm sure you know of the North Sea Jazz Festival in the Netherlands. Well, we have the Curaçao North Sea Jazz Festival. So this is a very, I'm looking forward, let me just say this, to that happening again post-COVID. And music is also a very big industry here. The festival industry also attracts a lot of the Dutch DJ scene and a lot the Dutch party scene that do their festivals here for the region. Culinary industry award-winning organizations there. This is just an example of how we have innovative, inspiring environments to do your business in if you don't want to start renting or owning your place. You can do it in these co-working spaces. The part of technology as a spark plug is also some little known facts there. The data center, the BlueNap Americas, is a data center, which is a Tier 4 data center, which is in a very high level in the world. And in the region, again, it's unique and very innovative. We have AMS-IX Caribbean, so that's the Amsterdam Internet Exchange. They have a network around the whole world, as you can see on this map, and Curaçao is part of that, so that connects you to the whole world basically. And this is also unique in the region. This is a unique selling point for Curaçao that other islands and countries don't have. So if you want to join this, you are invited. Come here and experience the Douche Curaçao feeling. Douche stands for lekker of schatje of zacht. It's soft. It has all kinds of meaning, kind of like sweet and sweetie. So come and experience the Douche Curaçao feeling. There's all kinds of incentives if you want to invest in Curaçao, if you want to come here, spend the cold winter here, or if you want to do remote work from Curaçao, we have incentives for that. There's all kinds of information at home in Curaçao, gives you information about remote working. Residence by investment program is highlighted there. There have been some incentives introduced for digital nomads to come to Curaçao. And of course, there's more information about Curaçao to be had. So that was my presentation. This is the information about CT. More information about all this and more, and all the data you can find on CNEX's website. This is how you contact CNEX, and which is a nice bridge to the next speaker, which is going to be Sam.
Thank you, Monique. I learned a lot, and I also know now that Curaçao has a lot more to offer than only sunshine and wonderful beaches. And I really think it's a vibrant and entrepreneurship in Curaçao available. And the word douche, okay, I'm going to use that. I mean, I think that's a wonderful way of presenting Curaçao. So our next speaker, thank you, Monique. So our next speaker is Sam Kruiner. He is export development consultant of the Curaçao Investment and Export Promotion Agency, CINEX. He will introduce his organization and the services they offer, and the way they can help and to give help to Dutch companies. Sam, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Sam Kruiner from Export Development Consultant at the Curaçao Investment and Export Promotion. I would like to give you a brief explanation, a brief presentation of what CNEX is all about. CNEX is, as stated here, is effectively attracting and assisting foreign investors and entrepreneurs throughout the process of seeking and setting up a business on the island, promote the investment opportunities available in Curaçao, enhance the investment experience in the country, and facilitate exports by local businesses. And so essentially, the organization that would help you to settle, to get your investment into the country, and to facilitate you in that whole process. CNEX was started operation in 2014. Our mission is stated here through the continuous branding and promotion, public-private partnership, and excellent facilitation services put Curaçao on the map as a renowned foreign investment destination in the Caribbean and create a channel for local products and services to enter international market. As Monique had explained in her presentation, there are a number of events here already happening in the innovation area. Most recently is that one of the Proteus that came to the island to settle and to establish a laboratory here. So there are a lot of others, as you would hear later on, also from DINEF, that will explain how they went through the process. So what we do is essentially seeking international investors for local projects. We facilitate the process of investment, obtaining permits, licenses, help you going through that whole process. Investment matchmaking, looking at local partners that may be available, others that are in the same environment. Facilitate contact with authorities, provide relevant business information and branding and promotion of Curaçao as a FDI destination, and of course, export facilitation. In that regard, during the whole process, we're working together with various partners. CT is one of them, where we collaborate with for projects that are in their area, but also other organizations that we have on the island. The priority sectors we are focusing on, and before I go on, a little bit of an apology for the figure on the right, the picture on the right. Through some circumstances, I wasn't able to change that fully to what reflect the terminology on the left, but it's more or less the same. So the priority sectors we are focusing on in relation to which are the sectors that are part of the national export strategy mentioned before by Monique. We have a national export strategy that is recently being developed, which is for 2021 to 2026. And CNEX is involved in that process, of course. We have these priority sectors that we are focusing on. Our strengths are various. There's a wide range of support that we can give you, wide range of factors that we have here that can support you in that whole process. We have access flights that are a number of flights. Even during COVID, it was, of course, not that high, but it's picking up again to normal level where you have accessibility of the islands from here to North America and the rest of the Caribbean. We are really a hub. In terms of location, we are outside the hurricane belt. So the hurricane may pass here and along. The most you would get is a little bit of rain, but it will not hit the island. We have a talent pool that is available, a lot of skills that is available for the various industries, especially in the IT sector. We have quite a number of talents here available. And of course, the infrastructure, most importantly, if you look at the IT sector, the tier 4 data center that we have here on the island, plus also other facilities that are currently happening. The recently launched bus stop from yesterday was part of that initiative, looking at the infrastructure, looking at the talent pool and the location, and they decided to have this smart bus stop here in Curaçao, made and developed in Curaçao. So the important thing is, the key is not spending time, but investing in it. Curaçao is the place to be. Invest now. This was a brief presentation of CNEX. I would like to thank you. This is my contact information, samuel.kruner@cnex.cw. And I would like to end with our credo. This is Curaçao, where business succeeds. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. It was clear and well known. And to be very honest, I mean, I've been working with you on a couple of projects, and it's a pleasure to work with you and with your organization.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you for your presentation. We will get back to
You're
you
welcome.
a little bit later on. So our next speaker, that's Ms. Sasha Mercer. She has been working at the KGMC as a senior policy advisor for economic development since October 2017. The organization is also known as Curaçao House. This is where the representation of the government of Curaçao in the Netherlands holds office. It's not widely known that Curaçao is an autonomous country within the kingdom and therefore does not have an embassy in the Netherlands, but the cabinet of the ministry plenipotentiary, a difficult word. Sasha will give an introduction about KGMC, which is a source of information for various target groups, both within and outside the Netherlands. Curaçao has a number of focus sectors, but KGMC looks with a broader view to all opportunities and new developments. Sasha, the floor is yours.
Good morning, good afternoon to everyone. I'm here in The Hague, and I'd like to explain a bit about my office, my role, and how we assist investors. Now, I don't have any fancy presentations like the two former speakers, but I will do my best to give an explanation of what I do. I do have some cheat sheets, so I'll be looking at this from time to time. First of all, the office where I work, it's called the Cabinet of the Minister Plenipotentiary of Curaçao. It is as a result of the fact that Curaçao is an autonomous country within the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Monique alluded to that, but I'd like to explain that a little bit more. Therefore, Curaçao cannot have and does not have an embassy Neither does Netherlands. The Netherlands have an embassy in Curaçao, but instead we have a cabinet where an appointed person, who is a minister plenipotentiary, is the representative of the government of Curaçao in the Netherlands. We provide various services, with the consular ones being the ones that would normally first come to mind. This could be that someone wants to travel to Curaçao, they have questions, they would oftentimes come to us. The cabinet also fulfills the role of being a center of information for various groups, such as persons interested to do their internship in Curaçao or queries from potential investors just like yourself. As it pertains to investment and incentives, Curaçao is a hub. The former speakers have alluded to this already, but I would still go into these areas with a little bit more detail. Evidently, in the Q&A area or portion, I will be happy to answer your questions even after this webinar. I would like to highlight a few aspects that are of interest, but often not known to many. My apologies. Curaçao has a legal system that is very similar to that of the Netherlands. However, as an autonomous country, it is not bound to EU regulations. This means that Curaçao can be a very interesting jurisdiction to set up your office. This with the knowledge that should there be any arbitration, you will first go to the local court, then to that of the Netherlands, and ultimately that of the EU as the highest court. In addition to this, the country offers good investor protection conditions. You can read about that on the CNIC's website. With the aforementioned in mind, you can also consider as the venue, both physical and otherwise, for your data-related business. Monique spoke about some of the innovative opportunities that exist. At this point, data and anything has to do with AI is really, really hot. Also mentioned by both speakers is the fact that Curaçao has a strong infrastructure and server capacity, complemented by the legislation that promotes business in this area. Currently, like some of you would know, the Netherlands and most of Europe is struggling with questions around the storage and the protection of personal data, and Curaçao could very well be the place for solutions in this area. In addition to the infrastructure in place, the island is blessed by being out of the hurricane belt. Now, it may seem as a small detail, but at this point, being outside of the hurricane belt with the climate conditions, and I should say global warming conditions that we have, your location for your data could be a very important one. Back to my role at the cabinet of the Minister Plenipotentiary, also known as the Curaçao House. I work in support of ministries and the private sector in Curaçao, but also for those in the Netherlands. I facilitate in contacts, often meet potential investors, and coordinate summits and business trips to Curaçao. As such, I'm here to help connect with the relevant parties, which oftentimes mean a first stop with CNICs. So to kind of explain what I do, I'd like to use concrete examples. And in 2018 and 2019, we organized a mission, as it's called, a missie in Dutch, from the Netherlands to Holland. And for the mission in 2019, which was in collaboration with RVO, we had to put a stop to the amount of participants who could go. We, at the time, had Prime Minister Rutte, Mark Rutte, and Staatssecretaris Mr. Knops travel to Curaçao, and we still are working on spin-offs from that summit. Also from 2017, which is the year that I started working here at the Curaçao House, I've been working on the inception of the Living Lab Curaçao, also mentioned by Monique, which was in collaboration with, or is in collaboration with TNO and some other big and well-known Dutch companies. As a matter of fact, these companies will be traveling to Curaçao next week to go into the next phase of the projects and sub-projects that exist. Where we initially started with questions on mobility, we eventually, actually very swiftly moved into energy transition questions and opportunities. And the group of investors that's going to Curaçao, they look at the program holistically. So where you have questions on mobility, we look at logistics. we look at the built environment, we look at the harbors, and we're very excited about this next step. So if there are any questions on that later, I can answer that as well. The University of Curaçao is also one of the entities in the mix of the Living Lab, and they have what is called a digital twin. They make use of this, which is, I call, a virtual example of the built environment, and this can be used in many ways. I mention this because this could be of interest to you to do test projects, pilot projects, as also mentioned by Monique, and also keeping in mind that, as crazy as it sounds, you may want to consider doing some of these test pilots in Curaçao because the legislation is not as rigid as in the Netherlands. Based on your results, you can then decide to scale back up or adapt your project according to the legislation in the Netherlands. So some of the companies that are part of the Living Lab Horizonte Nova group are looking at Curaçao for energy transition projects that they could not try out in the Netherlands. They're looking to do that in Curaçao and take back those results to accelerate their projects here in the Netherlands. So with that in mind, you can apply this to the built environment, to logistics, to infrastructure, etc. And we work along one of the companies that was also one of the institutions, I should say, which was mentioned earlier, which is the Netherlands Organization for Applied Scientific Research, called TNO. TNO also works with the government of the Netherlands, and that's another entity where I connect with. I work not only with the ministries in Curaçao, but also the ministries in the Netherlands. One of the areas that I like to focus on is a combination of doing business and leisure activities. I often encounter persons who, after maybe just one visit, want to make Curaçao their satellite office or their second home. Now, besides all of the sadness and the negativity that COVID-19 has brought us, it has also accelerated online working, meeting, and collabs with Curaçao and making full use of the work at home benefits, also mentioned earlier. Currently, I'm working with various entities to see how best Dutch investors can make use of funding and financing options from the Netherlands to invest in Curaçao, and we have good hope that this will take place in the very near future. Now, Monique has mentioned a few things already, where you can access EU funding for projects from the Netherlands in Curaçao. You just have to look at the conditions and see if your company meets them. Some of them are yet. We're trying to ensure that Dutch investors, Dutch companies, I should say, could access funds that, for example, are being offered by Invest International. So there is, while Curaçao is part of the kingdom, you may want to look through the financing opportunities and criteria for you to invest in Curaçao. Besides interacting with potential and existing investors, I like to liaise with Dutch organizations and professionals, so to be in a position to signal opportunities, advance projects, and to put Curaçao at a top of mind position. The possibilities are many, especially when you consider the reach that you would have in the Caribbean. Now, some of you may want to discuss things like, what's the return on my investment? What are some of the incentives that I can get? These I would discuss most of the time on a one-on-one basis, because this varies from investment segment, investment type, and also what you want to do exactly in Curaçao. So on that, and with Evert-Jan in focus, I like to say, think sun, sea, people, and business.
Thank you, Sasha. I hope everybody can hear me now. I mean, I'm really sorry. I had a wonderful introduction, in my opinion, but I understood that the sound was gone. So I'm really sad about that. Thank you again, Sasha. I'm so happy that there is a Curaçao house in the Netherlands available also for many questions for companies. But first of all, I would say again, go to go to Curaçao themselves. We have now good contacts. Approach them, and of course Sasha will help wherever is possible. Our last speaker, and I'm very happy that he's there, and that's Chris Boustra. Chris is Chief Commercial Officer of the company Dynev. It was already mentioned by Monique. Dynev is a very innovative company which is working on power solutions on the island. Therefore, the company was in the top 3 of the Curaçao Innovation Award in 2019. So a wonderful achievement. He will share his experience about doing business in Curaçao. Chris, thank you for being there. What are you there, Chris? Hopefully he's there.
Yes.
Hi, Chris. Good to see
you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
I'm happy that you're there. Why did you choose Curaçao to start your business?
To be clear, I was not starting Dynev. That was Hans van der Gulik. He started Dynev in 1999, and one-man show. And 22 years later, we are at 50 employees and 3 locations, 3 offices, head offices in Curaçao, but we also have establishments in Aruba and Sint Maarten. And hopefully within 6 months, a brand new office in Bonaire.
Okay, but what made you choose for Curaçao? Why didn't you start in the Netherlands?
Dynev was a company in the Netherlands. It was located in Alkmaar, but Hans had the ambition to open up an establishment in Curaçao because he was born here. He went into the plane and started Dynev in Curaçao, and with some success, you might say.
Maybe I understood that there is a brief video presenting and introducing Dynev company. Maybe we could have a quick look on what Dynev is doing.
Thank you.
Over the past 20 years at Dynev, we have been striving to provide the best possible energy solutions in the Caribbean to the most isolated locations. Our presence is powerful and always effective. Power is what drives us. Not just electrical power, but the power of partnership, service, and skills. Clients depend on our solutions to live better, see better, and produce more in complete safety. We are not simply satisfied with selling our products, but also guarantee their availability and reliability, whatever the circumstances, wherever the location, 24 hours a day. We don't just sell and install equipment. We care, we listen, and provide the best solutions for their specific needs. We partner with suppliers, creating strategic alliances and a strong supply chain. We are transparent in our dealings with customers, which builds satisfaction and trust. We think ahead and figure out the smartest approach. From our own warehouses, certified mechanics, and our engineers, we deliver advanced, innovative, and durable solutions with an eye towards the future. Whether we are installing a complex system for a bank or hospital, or an off-grid solar power system for a homeowner, we embrace diversity and work with people from all cultures and backgrounds. Employing people based on their skills rather than their ethnicity makes us a stronger company. Last but not least, we take responsibility for the environment, not just with our solar division and electric vehicles, but in the overall way we do business. At Dynev, tomorrow is not a vague promise, it's a guarantee. Let's power the future together.
Great video, Chris.
Yeah, it's pretty cool if you see this video again, and I'm extremely proud that I'm working for this company.
Chris, one of the things Monique was also mentioning is the cultural differences between working in the Netherlands or working in Curaçao. Could you enlighten a little bit on that part, and also how you experienced it working in Curaçao?
Yeah, I was emigrated in 2018 to join Dynev. Of course, I already lived in Curaçao for 1 year in 2008, but went back to the Netherlands. And yeah, Curaçao is a country, if you are visiting it, you hate it or you love it. And I was loving it. And had the ambition to go back on the right circumstances. And yeah, when I met Hans and he explained his ambition for the next phase of this great company, I had no doubt. And 3 months later, I packed my bags. First, I convinced my wife, and then I packed my bags, and then moved back to Curaçao, where I'm living here now for 3 years.
And is it really cultural-wise? Is it also different in doing business?
Yes, it's different, but on a positive note, the lines are shorter. What the presentations Monique and was already explaining, there is a lot of possibilities to meet people. It's a small island, so yeah, it's your work is also in the weekends when you meet or see people, and everybody is a social community, so everybody's very open and friendly, and of course that makes business easier.
Is it also the ambition of DynAv to try to sell their concept into the Netherlands in the future?
No, we are focusing on the Caribbean islands. We have the ambition to grow. So, but then we are looking at other countries in this region. So, yeah, we see a lot of the mindset to be an innovator, and the opportunities that are on renewable energy level here in the Caribbean is for us is enormous, and with our knowledge and our worldwide partners, we can be very effective here, and that is our goal the next couple of years.
Thank you. I see time-wise, we have there are so many good things to say about Curaçao, but I would like to spend on the last 5 minutes on the Q&A. And I got a couple of questions, so maybe Monique, Sasha, and Sam can also join us for a while. That would be great, because there's a good question asked by the audience, and that is, what are most common mistakes that are made by Dutch entrepreneurs while doing business in Curaçao? I don't know who would like to enlighten that. Monique?
I can try. I think, it's kind of an open door maybe, but assuming that because people speak Dutch and we are part of the kingdom, assuming that things are going the same way here. So that is, I think, a mistake that is, easy to make and understandable, but I think that's also, the case. And also, I feel that some people, when they get here, they do not realize that even though we speak Dutch, I mean, people understand that the Dutch that people speak in Friesland is different than the Dutch that people speak in Limburg. But when they get to Curaçao, all of a sudden they expect, people to talk the most perfect Dutch that there is. And of course, we have our own way of speaking Dutch. That doesn't mean that we are dumb or don't understand Dutch, but it's just a different way of speaking Dutch. And I think that might be a mistake that I see people make, not necessarily business people, but Dutch people. And but very like Chris already said, it's people are very open-minded and very friendly. So if you are open-minded and friendly, then you can make a lot of things happen. People are very polite here also, so you do have to make sure that they might not easily say no to your face to something. So you have to be honest, be open-minded, be transparent, because people will know immediately if you are there for the betterment of just yourself, or if you are there to do honest and open business, which makes a win-win situation.
Sam, we have one of the major issues why we've also spoken about Curaçao are the opportunities to sell into Latin America.
Yeah.
How does that work, and in what way is already Curaçao active in exporting towards Latin America?
Well, what is happening is that we have the opportunity to, because of the connections that you have with Latin America and the fact that we speak Spanish here, we have the opportunity to, link up quickly with the region through the airport, but also using Curaçao as a hub through, for instance, setting up a business here. Legal system is here, understandable and kind of similar to the Netherlands in a way. But what you have here is the industrial parks and the free zones that we have here where you can set up the hubs. So in approaching the Caribbean, people should look at it not only as a hub, but when you are here, especially certain businesses, like say IT businesses, for instance, you are able to participate in mergers and joint ventures of companies that are currently looking for new partners or cease to exist in the region. You are able to buy into those companies and get acquisitions in those companies because you're here in the same time zones as North America. So there's a wide range of opportunities here, not only producing through Curaçao for the region, but of course Curaçao itself, but also to get through Curaçao a little bit of a stake in businesses that are available in the region as well as in Curaçao.
Sasha, how many Dutch companies have their office in Curaçao? You have any idea?
I would not know that. I think that's a trick question to me right there. But I'm sure our colleagues or counterparts at the Chamber of Commerce in Curaçao would know this. But I do know what I can share with those on this webinar is that I'm seeing an increased interest in Curaçao, especially now after COVID. Persons are realizing I don't need to be in the Netherlands. They're more aware of the conditions to work abroad. And they're all, they are locating us here and asking us questions. So the exact number I don't have, but I'm sure we can look that up afterwards. And as was said, you can form partnerships with local companies as well in Curaçao. So you will have new forms and hybrids, so to speak.
Yeah, if I may, Eva John, quickly added something to it. We have what we call an At Home in Curaçao remote working program, which allows, in this case, the Dutch citizens to stay here as a remote worker. So besides coming here for the Sun CSN, to also be able to work here and work remotely, as you would see in other programs that are being launched currently in the world. So it's a wide range of opportunities that you have here in the country that are available to North Netherlands.
Thank you all. We have come to the end of this webinar, unfortunately. Chris, what is your last advice to Dutch companies?
Bring added value to the island.
Okay, that's nice.
And if you're open-minded and you can add value, then Curaçao is the perfect place to live and work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Sasha?
Well, I would say look forward to assisting you on your journey to Curaçao.
Okay. Sam?
No, I second Chris's idea or actually is saying, bring added value. It is a country with a lot of opportunities, as we have stated in my presentation on the priority sectors in particular, but it brings, you can work here in a more relaxed environment under the sun, sea, and sand.
And Monique, closing words for you.
I would like to, I agree with all of the previous speakers, and I would like to add that don't underestimate us. You might see from Curaçao usually the vacation vibe and the relaxed vibe, and we are very good at that. But it's a work hard, play hard location. Everybody works very hard. Most people from Curaçao have have 2 jobs or more, or their own business on the side. We are a community of very hard working, creative, innovative people. So come and join us. You're invited.
Sasha, one remark was there by one of the listeners, and it was from why don't we see people from the World Trade Center Curaçao anymore? So maybe that's also one of the things for the Curaçao House, also to make a nice statement from World Trade Center Curaçao should become active again.
Well, you got the right person sitting there. Sam is right there. He's under the ministry, and I'm sure it's duly noted. And we will look at what the possibilities are. We at least know where to find you.
Well, thank you all. Thank you, Monique, Sam, Sasha, and Chris. I think you did a great job in presenting Curaçao, and I trust that more companies will look for Curaçao to do business. In a few days, we will publish this webinar on YouTube. We will send you an email including contact information of the presenters. This was already our 27th webinar in our series, Promising Cities for International Business. Please visit our website to review all previous webinars. Wonderful cities, wonderful opportunities. Again, thank you all for participating. Our next webinar in the series will be November 18th, introducing the city of Turku in Finland. And for you, another webinar that we have is on November 4th. Then we will continue with our webinar program, Next Step in Export. And the title for this webinar is International Product and Brand Protection. On our website, you will find more information there. Also, maybe something else is really nice. Listen to our bi-weekly podcast series, Exportverhalen. Yes, it is in Dutch. Already over 27 exporters have shared their stories of doing business abroad. They share their experiences and tell us how they set up their international business. Follow us on Spotify, Apple, or whatever podcast channel that's there. So again, if you're in need of export support or looking for a reliable business partner, please contact us. The World Trade Center network is there to grow your business. Thanks again to our presenters, Monique, Rafael Boesen, Sam Kruiner, Sasha Mercer, and Chris Boustra. Wonderful job, and thank you for presenting Curaçao. And on behalf of our partners and team World Trade Center Leeuwarden, enjoy the rest of your day and hope to see you all in a few weeks. Thank you. Bye-bye.